I have to say, I always sit at the front to make sure that I do actually get up at some point. So it's, I do have a massive head start, but otherwise I'd probably never manage to get up here, to be honest, because it's a bit fast and furious at this venue. Anyway, I am doing a poem, sort of, well, based on the fact that the weather's rotten at the minute. Based on me going to the Ripeness Cafe on a morning when it was very wet. I awoke to the sound of thunder. It was quite a shock. At first I wondered. I got up and pulled back the blinds, only to see things lit up by bright lights. It was a storm, and more like the night. Having breakfast, I wondered if my clock was wrong. Was it really morning? Being so dark, no bird song. I went and got the metro. It arrived, but was very, very slow. It was more like a tram than a train. The track was waterlogged. The journey was a pain. On leaving, it was a game of dodging the puddles. Although a short walk, I got soaked for my troubles. I must now weigh a lot more, for them. My clothes are soaked and stretching to the floor. I can't really strip off here, but eventually I'll dry. So I'll make do with tea and poems. I'm sure I'll get by. Thank you.
So I penned this little ditty. It's called The Purple Tiger. Can you guess who it is yet? There is a rare creature with stripes and claws. She's a reddish blue hue. She swipes and applause. She's as quick as a flash, as strong as Tabasco. You know what I'm talking about. It's Jenny of Pasco, with hats at the ready, her hair's seldom seen. Here comes Newcastle's spoken word queen, loves musics that varies from Muppets to ABBA, a violet-clad compare of the great Jibber Jabber. With open mic she's facilitating, headlining guests she's celebrating, busy on, with no time to breathe, helped by a partner, the one they call Steve. She stalks the stage, delivers a line, a favourite creature, a fearsome feline, won't tolerate fools, takes them to task. Oh, with cat-toting sass, it's Jenny the Pasco. Her show's radioactive, no need for a Geiger, a poet who knows it, the tune's Purple Tiger, partial to Scran, a pizza or nacho. Let's raise a shout and cheer for the fat Jenny Pasco.
Written the day that the news broke of the passing of the great Ronnie Corbett. And here is the news. The last one took his last bow today. The world now remembers and wishes him well on his way. Maybe from a new armchair his stories now flow. They might start with a quip that he's just passing through. That has to be what he's doing right now, if we're thinking the music that started their show. Music we came to know them both by, while the screen showed their specs, one above, one below. That laugh from the punchline that I could not control, a tell from that armchair that I still recall whole. If I had the time I'd tell you it now. But we are still watching the rest of the show, the sketches, the serial, the climatic song, the main headlines again, before they are gone. But the shows we saw will live on forever. We might join that audience when they get back together. An audience once more laughing with them. Until then, it's good night from me, and it's good night from him.
A warning, this, I discovered that I am capable of child abuse, and you never know when it's going to happen. It's called How to Scare Little Boys. It is twilight, an hour before bedtime. They want stories, real life stories, my life stories. So much has happened in your life, they say. Well, that's because I've been on planet Earth a long, long time. How long? 96 years. No, how long? 27 years. No, how long? Long enough to know better. No, tell us a scary story this time. A proper scary story. A story you never told anyone. Before me, two tough football-playing lads, streetwise. One inquisitive lad, the little professor we call him. All three studied me as I began. I was in a country called Ukraine, in a town with a big castle. It was a very hot day. I went to the river to swim, then sat under a tree to read my book. A young man stopped. He had amber eyes and short golden hair. The pupils of his eyes were very large and black. He sat on the ground. In Russian, he asked me about my book, Anna Karenina. But my Russian is very limited now. I stared at his big toe. It was smashed and bloody. I pulled my dress over my swimsuit, picked up my towel and bag. He followed me up the long stone steps leading to the castle. He offered to carry my bag. I refused, politely. I quickened my pace. On a landing near the top, he attacked. He was behind me, his hand over my mouth. I pulled it away and screamed. His arm was across my throat. I clawed at his hands, elbowed him, screamed when I could, watched the steep steps near which we teetered. Those stone steps meant certain death. Soren looked alarmed, so I stopped. But I fought him off, Soren, and lived to tell the tale. But it was a tale I never should have told. Soren beat his forehead with his fist. That story will be in my head forever. But I am a woman who won. The Ukrainian police were lovely. They took me all the way to the border of Romania in a white Mercedes with leather seats. Soren gasped. But that man is still on this earth, and now I can never, ever sleep. So be careful what you tell small children. One of my regrets.
Hello, I'm Muna Jocelyn, and I would like to like you all to welcome the company of The Worm. This is The Worm, Margaret Kerswell, and occasionally she will ask you to go louder. Louder. Right? This is, well, you all know Jenny, whom we all thank for doing the work that she does, because it's really hard to put these things on. And she is the squire. Occasionally she will ask you to go. Jeannie Groves is the Thane, and they're together sort of thing. And Ace is a saint for tonight. Yeah. He is in fact St. George, and this is called George. And oh yes, thank you. He will ask you to go. Huzzah! Told you it was a saint. George and the Gateshead Worm. There was a worm lived in Gateshead in the once upon long ago, with vicious scales and big long nails, a fiery wake that reeked of death. He carried plague on his foul breath, for he had come up from the south. And he Very good. At least that's how the legend goes.
I'll eat you all, I'll scorch your town, I'll burn your buildings to the ground. I'll make you plead and beg and weep, unless you bring me sheeps to eat.
Hiss! People complied. What could they do? Till one day, all the sheep were gone. The worm demanded calves and hogs, horses and asses, cats and dogs, fowl by the dozen. Since they're small, he downed them whole, feathers and all. And when the livestock was all gone, there was a meeting in the tune.
I'll eat you all, I'll scorch your fields, I'll burn your crops to cinders. I'll make your river bubble and boil, unless you bring me girls and boys.
The squire stood there, and the thane, in fine threads, with haughty demeanour. They'd had turtle doves for breakfast, roast swan and peacocks for dinner. Tomorrow, they'd have guinea fowl. They weren't getting any thinner. You can't get the staff, can you?
We have been forced to make a deal in these wretched and austere times with the worm of Gateshead people.
And the squire wrung his noble hands.
Though it pains us, as it pains you, to give in to this vile bully, we have been forced to make this deal. You must understand this fully.
Boo! From this day we must deliver a child a week to the worm's lair. We'll draw lots for the sacrifice.
Indeed, I think that's very fair.
And though the townsfolk booed and hissed, the thane and squire didn't hear, for they were spirited away by henchmen and partook of beer, before going their separate ways to their out-of-town fortresses. The first lot fell on gypsy folk, who cursed the worm that it might choke.
Now and again, the worm came down, just to intimidate the town, swooping and snooping, breathing flame. And he observed the squire and thane feasting together in the tower, and the squire's daughter, plump, well-fed, was slurping broth and chomping bread.
Do you really think that you can cheat a dragon with such scrawny meat? These skinny children of the poor are but a morsel. I want more. Squire, I will have your best you've got, and your daughter falls that lot.
The squire now wrung his hands for real. He knew there could be no appeal. Sir George was travelling from the south. He was a brave and fearless youth, a knight whose armour shone with truth. And he'd heard tell of the Gateshead worm, and thought that it could do no harm to offer succour to the town, since they were suckers anyway.
Good night to squire, I beg. Won't you save us from this most evil worm?
I'll think about it. He is the price. You all must pray to Jesus Christ.
He's eaten all our cheeses too.
The thing was not the brightest coin.
I mean, if you become Christians, dogs, I'll save your daughter from your town.
No problem. Anything you say, but it'll have to be today to save my beautiful daughter from inevitable slaughter. She's up there now, you see. Hurry!
Young George leapt on his faithful steed. With his trusty sword Ascalon. And to Gateshead he rode with speed to find the poisonous dragon. He glittered in the noonday sun, his hilt with garnets shone and gold.
I'll smite thee, O worm!
He cried, Huzzah! The worm replied, "Ooh, aren't you bold?
Nothing will keep me from my catch. I just about to do my worst. Maybe you'd like to stay and watch, or maybe I should cook you first."
The dragon's fiery breath surged forth. The maiden gave a screech of fear. George thrust his sword into its heart. Down upon his blade a droplet fell. Up from the ground grew a red rose. "You saved my life," the maiden swooned. "You are my hero. You're a saint."
When I get out of this armor, lass, you will find that I ain't.
Being well travelled, I suppose there's always dragons to be killed. The story goes, George plucked the rose. Saints are allowed some latitude, for it's well known maids everywhere have ways of showing gratitude.
Hello, Jubbafarians. It's such a delight to be here tonight with the creme de la creme of the writers who write, and the singers who sing, and the drawers who draw, and the poets who poet, and poets some more. Some think what we do is a bit arty-farty, but we're the elite literature glitterati. So because you appreciate a poem of import, this one's for you. Just be glad that it's short.
Go on, no, wait.
This was unplanned.
Hello!
Hello!
Every time I try to go out at the minute, something goes horribly wrong, and this is a poem about that. It's called The Whole World Goes Out. My girlfriend puts on an unbuttoned blouse, sips pre-drink Shiraz while running her fingers through freshly curled hair. She's showing us the hilarious Facebook page with a description that boldly states, "We've got a full keg of beer! 250 pints! Anyone welcome? Come get as pissed as you like!" But alas, I will not be one of the revelers getting as pissed as I like tonight, because I have gastroenteritis. And when my finer half mingles with the forever beautiful clinking glasses with the alive and intelligent, I'll be in my sweat-drenched pajamas, trying to breathe over stomach cramps that make a cannonball to the gut feel like a tickle from a kitten. While she dances to fall to the floor beats pulling beautiful and attractive shapes, I'll be dealing with the fact that it literally feels like the floor is falling in. There's a knock at the door. It's Lauren, Chris and David, their eyes wide in the hallway. "Rowan, we've got loads of MDMA. Do you want to come to a rave?" But alas, the rave was not meant for me, because I have gastroenteritis, and the only pounding techno I'll listen to is the sensation of my own headache over the hollow beeping of the microwave. My friends will have synthetic orgasms, their spines tingling as the bass raises them to unparalleled levels of love and joy. I'll be in bed, trying not to shit out tomato soup, watching a documentary on Charles Bukowski. Amen, Charles. No one understands me. And Lauren's making lines on the table and she offers one to me, and Rose is putting her best lipstick on, the colour of hope and opportunity, and Chris decides to get us in an intense 5-minute-long bear hug, where the only words he utters to punctuate the silence are, "Nah man, seriously?" Which he repeats nigh on constantly, and the whole world is out tonight. The whole world is out tonight. The whole world is out tonight, but me. Cheers.